Thank you. It's been a real pleasure to be able to get to know John and to introduce him to the crowd today. Just a quick bio, a little bit of background on John. What if one message could change your life? What if one person could provide hope that the best is yet to come within you? This person is John O'Leary. As a 9-year-old boy, John was burned on 100% of his body and given less than 1% chance to live. His amazing story and his journey with survival illustrates the incredible power of the human spirit. Today, John is an author in national best-selling books. The book is On Fire and In Awe. He's the host of the top-rated live inspired podcast, and he's an inspirational speaker who has taught millions of people around the world how to live inspired. John is a business owner, writer, husband, and a father of 4. Once expected to die, now teaching others how to truly live. Please help me welcome John O'Leary.
Well, good morning. When you hear an introduction like that, it's possible to think the next hour is going to be all about John O'Leary and his story, and what he faced and what he overcame, and maybe at the very, very, very end, if we have time, what it means for you. But to make sure that you recognize from the onset, this story is only to celebrate yours. And where's Armand? Is Armand in the room right now? Dude, I mean, I do this for a living. That was brilliant. I am deeply moved by your story. And one of the things you said at the end of it is, and here's what I know, I can't wait to hear all of your stories. Me too. So everybody's got a story. It's just usually not the one we're telling the world. When 3.5 years ago, as Beth and I were planning our next event together, here it is today, but we were thinking it would be in 2020, I had an opportunity of traveling up to New York to speak to some kids. My favorite audience, if you can imagine, actually is working with kids, in particular those who face some struggles. These children, 100% of them were on free and reduced lunch. 100% of them were being raised either by a grandparent or a great-grandparent. So these little guys have struggles I don't understand, because I didn't have those types of things going up and growing up. But I was invited in to remind them that their life mattered and that their best was in front of them. So at the end of an hour and 15-minute presentation with a group of 3rd and 4th graders, I'm either hugging kids or fist bumping them as they go back to class. One of the little men fist bumps me, pulls back his right hand, looks at my right hand. It's okay to look, leaders, members, friends, and family. Looks at my right hand. Then he looks at my left hand. Then he looks square into my eyes and goes, "Whoa, mister, what happened to your hands?" This is after I spoke to his class for an hour and 15 minutes, okay? So if you're curious too, we'll get there in a moment, I promise. But he should have known. I take a slice of humble pie. Sometimes leading a club or a team or a family or a life will serve you some humble pie. I take mine, I kneel down closer, and I say to him, "Well, little buddy, when I was 9 years old, about your age, I was in a house fire. I got burned on my entire body, spent 5.5 months in hospital, lost my fingers, but I'm doing awesome today." And this little man looks out the window, he looks back at me, and then he goes, "Whoa, mister, we had a speaker earlier today. And when he was 9 years old, he was in a house fire too." And then he added, "You two should meet," okay? My friends, I have met that man, okay? I showered with him early this morning on the 4th floor. I'm not that impressed by that guy, but I am incredibly impressed by resilience and courage and selflessness and individuals who not only know they have a story, but are willing to live it out loud every day. And that's what we get to celebrate today. Your story. Your story. Not the one you put on Facebook or Instagram, but like the real story of your life, recognizing it's not always easy, it's not always perfect, but it is uniquely, perfectly yours. So how do we live into it? Today, when we struggle, how many of you have ever had a bad day? 4 out of 180 have had a bad day. When you return to work in a couple days, you'll have a bad day, okay? Life will happen. When you struggle, not if. It's not an if statement, it's when. When you struggle with relationships at home, with lack of relationships, with addictions, with aspirations, with members, with team members, with lack of team members, when you struggle, and when you choose, underline that word, to remain a victim to the storm, whatever the storm is right now, I find that there are 3 questions I ask. And maybe sometimes, from time to time, we may ask them too. Question number 1, when the day is hard and long, the question I love to ask, and it's not healthy or helpful. Oh, why me? Why me? And when I ask this question, rather than looking up and giving thanks for what I've got and rolling up my sleeves, grabbing my boots and going, what I do is I look down, cross my arms, kind of give away my power, and then I ask the second question, which is, oh man, who cares? So why me? And then who cares? And when I ask those 2, the third and final nail in my coffin, what more can I do? I'm only one. The problem's too big, I'm too small, I'm too old, or I'm too young, I'm too whatever. What more can I do? But today, in beautiful Orlando, Florida, surrounded by 179 friends, celebrating the power of one that is your story, that is your life, you and I, and today we're going to be asking 3 radically different questions. These are worth asking, they're worth answering, they're worth living out loud through your story. Question number 1, as the sun rises in Florida, whether you grew up in Florida or you grew up in Kosovo, you're here now. And when the sun rises in the east, as we look at it in awe, the question I hope you ask today, and I definitely demand that you will ask it tomorrow, is on the screen right now. It's a good one. Whoa. Why me? Man, eyes to see, ears that hear, hearts that beat free, opportunity to identify what's wrong but work to redeem it. What a gift. Why me? It's a great question. So now instead of laying in bed, we get out of it. And instead of crossing our arms, we uncross them, move into the day boldly, driven by mission. We ask the second question, class, which is who cares? It's hard, and it is hard, but it is worthy. Who cares? This is a great question. So now, moving into our day, on fire, with mission, with purpose, with a goal in mind. So another thing Armin said, have a goal. Have a goal. You and I move toward that goal by asking the third and the final question. Anybody want to guess what the third and final question is? Okay, Matthew, way to go, brother. It's up on the screen in 164 font, and Matthew got it right. What more can I do? Do you see a similarity between the 2 sets of questions, yes or no? I'm sorry, class, yes or no? Here's what is true for class, for leadership, for conferences, for singleness, for marriages, for whatever you want to focus on and grow. The more you engage, the better the thing gets. So I'm going to be hoping that you just lean into this program. Not for me. I leave out today at 2:45. For you. You are worth it. So today, lean in. Watch what happens. The similarity in those questions is because the way we choose to ask a question will influence what we see, how we feel about what we see, what we think, how we behave, how we brainstorm, how we collaborate, the words we speak, the actions we take. And ultimately, for those who love finance, and I don't like numbers either, Kev, the results we get. So if you are a results leader, good for you. But the way we get there is not focusing on the results. It's going all the way up to the tippity top of the spear, which is perspective. So today, harnessing yours, we're going to begin with this question. Anybody want to guess what the first question is? A little louder, class. Why me? Why me? Do you think gratitude matters? Yes or no? I'm going to not try to bore you back to sleep with the research, but here's a little bit of the research around this. As you drive toward gratitude, and it is a choice, we don't have to make it, but just recognize when you do choose gratitude, you naturally become more optimistic and kinder and less self-centered. This is a good thing for all of us to have in this room. But it doesn't stop there. It moves on to affect our health. All kinds of research around this. Again, I will not bore you back to sleep, but lowering blood pressure, increase in energy, elevating longevity. One study says up to 8 years, University of Minnesota, crazy, by choosing gratitude. For those of us in relationships, better, more enduring relationships, which is phenomenal. For those of us who are single, this is a great one. It makes you more attractive. You know, I mean, who doesn't like a person who on their profile looks like this? You know, very approachable. Gratitude makes you more approachable, more loving, but also more lovable. Final thing I'll share on this is increased confidence, likelier promotion, enhanced productivity, the ability to impact lives, not only your own, but those you lead forward. More than all of that stuff, Michael, we're coming to your wife now and what she does professionally. It's what you get and who you become. Just joyful. Just joy. In spite of the rain, joy. In spite of the hardship and the heartache, joy. And when I think about all the research on this stuff, and gratitude and joy and endurance and resilience, the person that I celebrate most is this guy. I've learned a lot from this gentleman on joy. I know him extraordinarily well. I've been researching him for 46 years. That's my dad. My dad, 33 years ago, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This is a picture we took shortly before he lost the ability to stand. We were up in the Panhandle, for those of you who work and reside up in that area. So we're hanging out up there in Florida. That's where he loves to go. So as a family, we go there every summer. We take my mom and dad. But now my dad can no longer stand. He can no longer walk. He can no longer drive. He can no longer speak. He can no longer work. I know it's work, but what a gift to have work. He can no longer work, which means he can no longer earn. And lately, he's losing the ability to swallow. But I'm going to go through just a couple family pictures of Dad and look up there at his face. What do you notice about my dad's face? Just yell it out, please. He's happy. Why is he happy, man? In that picture, Tampa Bay is beating us 8-1 in the second inning. Okay. It's like 140 degrees at Busch Stadium for those of you who have ever been to the Midwest in the summertime. It is brutal. It is hot. It is humid. They lost our wheelchair accessible seats. So his two boys had to pick you talk about humility, had to pick my dad up, carry him down 11 rows in a packed stadium. How embarrassing is that? Take a picture in the second inning, and you see it on his face. But that's not what I want you to see. What do you see on his granddaughter's face? Bigger. You're not a temperature gauge. It's far more of a thermostat. The way you walk into a room, leaders, and that is you, the way you walk into a room changes the room. Any room we roll my dad into, the room itself changes, always. This is a picture of his caregiver. They said I do 54 years ago. That's my mom up there. This is my business. It's not quite the size and status of yours. I have a grand total of 8 employees. Our worst employee by far is pictured on the screen. Okay, and it's really not even that close. My dad comes to work when he wants to, which lately means about once a quarter, my dad will come into work. We stack the work in front of him. The wheelchair gets set behind him. But leaders, the Final time I'll ask it. What do you see on his face? Come on. This was our last travel trip together right before the world changed in 2020. Those ladies and gentlemen lined up not to meet the speaker. They wanted to meet the hero. He wasn't going to be able to speak back to them, but they wanted to meet my dad. They wanted to get a sense for what brought him such joy and courage for his life in the middle of a storm. I asked the same thing years ago with my father. I said, Dad, why don't you ever complain about how hard life is? You know? Why don't you complain more about it? It seems reasonable. And he looked at me almost surprised and said, How could I complain when my life is so good? It's just so good. So I said, Dad, can you give me 3 things you're grateful for because of the struggle? You know, it's a hard question to answer. I had no idea what he may come back with, but as you see up there, he is going to give me 3. I'll give away the ending. And the ending to the ending is this. In a moment, you'll be reflecting today on what you're grateful for. So that's where the storyline goes. 3 things you're grateful for. The very first thing my dad said back to me. John, I'm grateful it wasn't a more serious disease. It could have been bad, which is true. Everyone in this room knows that to be true. It could have been worse than Parkinson's disease. But when you're the one weathering a storm like that, to recognize that, man, rarefied air. Second thing my dad said, I used to be so busy, and everybody in this room can relate on that one. I used to be so busy. And now I've got nothing but time to reflect on who I am, what matters most, and where God is in my story. And the third and final thing my dad said, John, I've always liked your mom. Right. So I said, Dad, I'm glad you like my mom. You married her right out of high school. You raised 6 kids with her. I'm glad you like my mom. And he said, I think you're missing the point. Everyone else is pushing me farther and farther and farther away. My coworkers, you know, my brothers and sisters, no longer saw value in the work that I was able to produce. So they showed them the exit. My friends who used to come around for a round of golf, man, up at the club, or a round of beer, they no longer do either. Everyone else sees less value in who I am and how I show up. Everybody, except for one. Your mother, my wife, keeps standing and stepping closer and closer and closer. I haven't earned this, but I'm grateful and I love her. So at this point, guys, I'm an easy cry. For me, a good dog food commercial will normally trigger tears. Like when I see the puppies come around the corner, man, for their dog chow, like, I'm done. Right? So I'm crying in front of my dad, unapologetically. I stand up, stop taking notes, walk over to him to give him a big old hug like this. And then he shares with me as loudly as he can muster that day 3 words. I'll never forget them. John, sit back down. Sit back down. Leaders, CMAA, family, friends, servants, fellow humans, just sit back down. And then he followed that with 6 more. The first were these: I'm not finished. I got more. So what I'm going to encourage all 181 of us, because I joined the family this morning, all 181 of us to do today is just for a moment today, in the middle of headwinds blowing and challenges that you're facing personally and professionally, for a moment, sit back down. We're not done. We got more. We got more. The foundation is firmer than maybe we recognize. So let me race through the rest of the list with you today, and then you and I will make ours. He went from being closer to his spouse to this 4th one, which was time at home. I know in the summertime, maybe some of you get a little bit more time at home. What a gift that is, time at home, with my 6 kids and 22 grandbabies. And then he talked about medical technology and the ladies and gentlemen who provide it. This bottom one is great. He said, John, when I was on top of the world, man, I don't think I saw the needs of those who felt buried under the weight of it. I have joined them. My heart has been opened. My eyes have been opened. I have renewed compassion for those who struggle. What a gift. What a gift. The way we grow in compassion and empathy is to weather the storm together. When he has to crawl, he's grateful for the days when he could walk, when he can't speak, which is every day. He's grateful for when he could. This next one is my favorite. He said, John, when your mother drives me, man, I'm grateful for the handicap spot. He said, we are rock star VIP parkers at any club we pull up to. What a gift. To be VIP everywhere? Can you imagine? What a gift, if you choose to see it as such. You don't have to. I would not have. But my dad does. And he's not done. Two more. Almost there. Hang on for it. To see, hear, learn, laugh, love, and live. And the final thing, he said, John, I'm grateful for being healed, even if not cured. He said, every morning of my life, I wake up before your mother. I slide into my wheelchair. I roll over to the kitchen window. I look out, and I just wait for it. What do you think my dad waits for? Sunrise. He said, I wait for the light to cut through the darkness. It reminds me that life is not perfect this side of eternity, but it is good. It is good. The foundation is firm, and the best is yet to come. So what I'm going to do for a moment is take a big old swig of this, put a question back on the screen. You're familiar with it because you've asked it now twice already today. As we move toward joy together, I think the question that guides us directly toward it is this. Why me? Why me? So with water or coffee or whatever's in your cup today, we're not here to judge you. We are here to love you. Whatever you're sipping on, I'd like you for a moment just to reflect on, man, why me? And then to make sure we're in the right lane, choosing gratitude, which is going to lead to resilience and joy and longevity and greater attraction and impact and influence and affluence. I am grateful for. What are you grateful for? And you'll need an answer, because in 21 seconds, you'll be turning to a neighbor and sharing your answer. What are you grateful for? Hot coffee, ice water, cold beer, great round of golf, an awesome team, living in Florida. I pay to come down here. What a gift. You're in paradise. What are you grateful for? Health? Joy? The ability to choose? Driving a car. You ever think about how fun that is? My dad can't, but dang, it's fun to drive a car. What else? All right. How about leaving a war-torn country and finding your brother in America, starting off as a busboy, and then becoming a leader? Opportunities, man. What else are you grateful for? All right, so I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you all pick up the microphone and use it. And I recognize for some of us, we don't like to share at events like this. So to help everybody break the ice, just repeat after me. That means whatever I say, you say. Here we go. What could possibly go wrong? Hi.
Hi.
This is awkward for me too. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And today, I am grateful for leaders. For a moment, forget about stress for a moment. We'll come back to it. Forget about challenges. Forget about work. Forget about challenges with staff or staffing up or all the other things we deal with in life. Forget about it. What do you have already? So I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Again, the reminder is that you turn to your neighbor. You may not share by yourself, so everybody grab a friend or two. What you will be sharing with them is, hi, this is awkward for me too. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I love you. There's nothing you can do about that. And today, I am freaking grateful for. Share away. Okay, we're going to take about 2 minutes on this right now. Everybody partner up in 2s and 3s. Make a new friend. My friends, leaders, F&B, managers, GMs, humans. It's early. Are you Regina? Where are you from? Oh, good. I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that. What was your father's name? Carl's proud of his baby. All right, leaders. That is enough love. Back to work. Yeah, that's right. The waterworks, man. Once the dam breaks. I love it. Hey, man, thank you. I'm John. Randy, honored, brother. Thanks for being here. What's your name? Angel. I'm John.
All right, leaders, here we go. Back to work. That is so awesome.
So we come back from the coffee break. O'Leary talks for a few minutes. The room is kind of on pins and needles. We're kind of edgy. We're not sure how to respond. Do we laugh or do we cry? And it's kind of hushed in here. And then this question goes up on the screen. And then we begin the answer to it right here. And then we turn to a neighbor and tell them we love them and there's nothing they can do about it. And then 11 minutes later, I still can't get you guys to pay attention. Because love, man. Like it's on. It's awesome. So I think everybody does have a story. I'm so glad you got to share part of your story with a neighbor. And I would love to hear from one distinguished member from each of our 3 alleys today on what they're grateful for. So what did you share with your neighbor? Are you going to grab a mic? Let's give a big hand for Beth, who's making the run. That was like a Price is Right rundown. Yes. Right. $1, Bob, $1.
Richland, why don't you take one?
Awesome. So we're looking just for a couple volunteers. We won't do this every time, but I want to make sure that not only do you share with the neighbor, but you share with all your friends. We'll start over here. I'm looking for one friend. Right up here in the front. What's your name first?
Dan Myers.
What do you like most about your work?
I like how many different things I can do. I like that I can play with members. I like that I can strategize and budget and do projects and all at different times of year.
Awesome.
It's really fun.
Okay, go ahead, Dan. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my family and their willingness to allow me to pursue what I really love doing and allow me to take the time to do it, even though it comes at the expense of their time sometimes. So I couldn't be successful or happy without their support, my wife's support, my kids' support, and it's very rewarding to know that I'll come home and they'll still love me every single time.
That's awesome. Big hand for Dan, please. Thank you. Those of us hanging out in the middle, an unpopular area to hang out these days, but I'm glad you're hanging out in the middle right now. So brothers and sisters, family and friends in the middle, I'm looking for one friend. All right, in the middle of the middle. Stand up, tell us your name first when you get the mic.
I'm Larry Corman.
Give Larry a big hand, please. Larry, what's your favorite part of your work?
Well, I solve my clients' problems as an attorney.
All right. Thank you, Larry.
I'm grateful for very basic things. I've lost several friends recently to illness, and so I'm glad to be alive. I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I think of is, hey, I woke up and I'm alive. And then I'm grateful for the fact that even though I'm a little overweight, I'm in relatively good health. And then I'm very grateful for my wife, who is the love of my life.
Woo. Wow. Larry. Over there, back, 4th row. Your name, is it Rob? Give Rob a big hand, please. And Rob, what do you like most about your work?
Real quick, Rob Oosterhouse, Royal Palm Yacht and Country Club, Boca Raton. Shout out Boca. What do I like? What do I like most about my job? The people. No 2 days are ever the same, which is again, dually the worst thing and the best thing about the job. What I'm grateful for, I've got so many things, and you really got my mind going. But I started very local. To my left, I'm very grateful that Tracy and I, who strictly had a LinkedIn relationship, actually saw each other in person and spoke to each other. So I'm grateful that we finally connected. And we didn't plan this. We sat down next to one another. So we've got to share a lot of similarities, and grateful for that. And then also local, I'm extremely grateful for these two people to my right, Brianna Pastano, our Director of Food and Beverage, and Rick Orsi, who is currently our Assistant General Manager, but I guess I can say this out loud, is going up to Mariner Sands to be the General Manager there starting the beginning of October, so shout out Rick. And what more can I do? Really, like that's one of those questions that weighs on you. Like, oh my God, who cares? What more can I do? And I know when I have these two people, like when I get to those days, or what more can I do? I go, oh well, I've got two other people here, and I know I've a couple hundred more at work that I can really lean on. So I'm really grateful for all those people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for starting local. Really, we all want to redeem some of the challenges in our clubs and our families in Florida, in our nation, and the world, and we're not sure where to start. And it starts as local as the mirror. That's where it starts. It's not where it ends, but it is indeed where it starts. So that's why we begin today, as we should every day, with this question. And that beautiful response, man, I'm grateful for my life. If you weren't sure what to come up with first, start there. I'm alive, dude. It ain't perfect. Sometimes it's kind of ugly, but I'm in the game. I'm still in the game. So we began with the question, why me? Answered it with the statement. Now we turn the page on kind of navel gazing, now into rolling up our sleeves and going to work. Anybody want to guess what the second question is? Who cares? Now, damn it, Matthew again. Who cares? We do. None of you have to be here. You chose this. This, as we dive deeper into who cares, is about learning from people who showed up in your life with values and mission and a clear goal and an other-oriented mentality, asking the question, what more can I do to elevate your game? And we're going to focus on them so that you and I ultimately can become better in our own lives. So we're going to start by focusing on them and then turn the mirror back into, okay, so what does that mean for me? So here's the story that we'll use. How many of you have a story? I'll start with that. Yeah, get your hands up, people. I'm not going to call on you, I promise. What is it, Manuel? No. We all do. My story, I though buried until I was 28 years old. I never told anybody how I got burned. Ken introduced me 15 minutes ago, and you would have think O'Leary's been doing this his entire life. I'm an introvert. I'm self-conscious. I struggle in school. I'm ADHD. I don't believe in myself. I hate the fact that I got burned. I hate the fact that my fingers are missing. And I hate the fact that my dream of being a St. Louis Cardinal was cut away from me. That's how I felt for the majority of my life. Why me? Why me? And I asked that for almost 20 years. And then when I was 28, I got a call. And a little Girl Scout on the other line says, Mr. O'Leary. So I responded, let me get you my dad's number. Because I always viewed myself, I'm John, my dad is Mr. O'Leary. And she goes, no, Mr. O'Leary, your daddy gave me your number. Mr. O'Leary, would you share your story at my school? What story? I don't have one. And if I did, it's not good. But I began reflecting after uttering back the word to her, yes, which is a great response to life. Like, yes, let's go. Let's just figure this thing out together. So I said yes. 2 weeks later, 40 hours of practice later, I stood in front of this room, not quite this size. It was 3 Girl Scouts. Right? Hey, bus boys, we all got to start somewhere. 3:30 in the afternoon, they're eating Samoas. They don't even pay me a box of Samoas for my work. I speak for 11 minutes on my story. And afterwards, one of the dads came up and said, John, that was awesome. Would you share it at my Rotary Club? I said, sure. And then one of those members was a member of a little group called Kiwanis. So I said, sure. And in saying yes, I've had the blessing and pleasure of traveling the country and the world. A couple million people alive. But it started recognizing that I've got a story. And in hearing this story in a moment, I hope you all recognize, so do you. John and Armin aren't the only two. We want to hear your story. So here's mine. A little boy named John had witnessed little boys in his neighborhood playing with fire and gasoline. What these guys would do is they would sprinkle gasoline on a sidewalk. They would strike a match, stand back 2 feet for safety. Okay, very risk-averse up in the Midwest. Throw the match on top, and the liquid, whoom, would dance to life. And when you're 9 and you're a little boy, like this is awesome. You're watching a puddle of liquid turn to fire. So it's like a scene from Harry Potter. And these are guys you look up to. They're practically men. They're 11. If they can do it, what's the next sentence? Come on. So that weekend, it's on. And by the way, some of us are probably thinking right now, dude, I don't know if I want to hear your story. I've got good news. You're not about to. This isn't a burn story. This is a leadership example. We become like the people we spend the majority of our lives with. What you tune into and who you tune into will influence your life going forward. Choose wisely. Don't be accidental. Choose wisely. But as important as that is, leaders recognize others are looking up at you. They just are. Give them an example that is worthy of being modeled. That weekend, I got the wrong examples, man. 6th grade boys, fire and gasoline. If she can, so can I. So I walk into the garage. Dad's at work. My mother's out. The house is mine. Bend over a can of gasoline. Try to pour a little bit of gas on top of a piece of paper that is on fire. It's a 5-gallon can, too heavy to pick up. So I set the flame on the concrete floor, bear hug the 5-gallon container, and tip, waiting for liquid. But before the liquid, let me go back one, came the fumes. The fumes came out of that can, created this huge explosion, picked me up, and then launched me 20 feet against the far side of the garage wall. When we were little, we were taught and trained what to do when we're on fire. What are we supposed to do, class? One more time, class. What do you actually do when you're on fire, class? Right. Why are those different answers? And why does it matter, O'Leary? Do you even know what we do professionally? Why? We're not in fire safety. Maybe not. But we are leading people. And we are certainly training people. Write this down. Take notes on this up here. But we live and we serve and we move toward excellence from a far more sacred source. So yeah, train. But meet them not only here, but here. The two must become one. Separate is not equal. It's just not. That day for me, the training went out the window. I freaked out. I ran for my life. One moment, I'm this happy, healthy, I'm not trying to brag, but it's pretty self-evident, extremely good looking, great haircut. That little white thing below his chin, what's that called? It's not a turtleneck. A freaking dickie. Yes, it is. Some of you don't even know what a dickie is down here in Florida, man. It's the top thing of the turtleneck. Your mama makes you wear it. You resent her for that. But you love your life. You ever been in a place in your life where it's going good enough that you don't even recognize how good enough it's going? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, my car started. I got a job. Yeah, people respect me. Yeah, the kids are healthy. Yeah. My life was so good. My family's life was so good. We were all at risk of missing it. And then it was almost taken away. This next picture is going to be hard to look at. You may want to shut your eyes, truly. But I found myself on my back with burns, as Ken said, on 100% of my body. 87% were 3rd degree. I'm laying in some hospital bed dying. And I remember looking up at the bright light. And as a little boy, the thought I had as that light is coming down toward me was, oh my gosh. Like it just kept echoing, oh my gosh. My dad is going to what? How many of you had a disciplinarian growing up? 8 of you. And the other 172 did it all by yourselves. That's right, I'm a self-starter. I don't even know why I have team members. I could do it all by myself. What a lie. What a lie. This idea that we can do it all. We can do it all. We can do part of it, but we need others. And not only others who look and act and vote and worship just like you, but we need everybody. We need to work together on this. One of my others is pictured up there. You met him earlier. His name is Dad. My dad came into this room, pulls back the curtain, walks over to me, points down, and then he says these words. I'll never forget them. John, look at me when I'm talking to you. These are words we mentioned a moment ago to one another. Look at me when I'm talking to you. And then he followed with, I have never been so proud of anybody in my entire life. And my little buddy today, this morning, man, I'm just proud to be your dad. And then my mean type A veteran father says to me, I love you. I love you. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And just a little guy, 9 years old, in that hospital bed, I crossed my arms and shut my eyes and remember thinking, oh my gosh, nobody told my dad what happened. The dude does not know I blew up the house. Obviously. What do you think? Does Dad know? Yes or no, leaders? Oh yeah, and he's mad. Leaves work, man, big day coming up, pulls back the curtain, sees any of our worst nightmares, a little child laying there, and he just changed. Ultimately, we get motivated from one of two places, I think. Either from a place of fear, which is common, but my dad shifted from fear that day into love. He changed, I caught. It did not make 5.5 months in burn care easy. It did not make a lifetime of some struggles easy. I just think the way he walked into that room made the journey possible. It just did. It took a while. It was a difficult journey toward this. But eventually that little boy came home. The miracle took. And then this little guy finds himself at home. You see the smile, but what the smile covers is that his life has been hijacked from him. I can't do anything. I can't stand up. I can't walk around. I can't go back to school. I can't make friends. I can't play sports. I can't do anything. So although the doctors and nurses and team members saved my life, what kind of life? What kind of life is this? I'm a victim to it. And my mother, who we celebrate in this story, it's really not about my dad. It's about her. Makes a phone call that I think changed my life. She calls a piano teacher. Let me put it to this way. I hated the piano before I got burned. Okay? At least now I have a reason why I will never play the piano again. I mean, clearly, the teacher's not there for me, but none of my siblings are home. So the teacher walks into this room. I look up at my mom and I say, Mama, why is she here? And I'll never forget how my mother responds. It's brilliant. You may want to remember it when you're in a disagreement, either today, tomorrow, or soon. Mom, why is she here? And here's what she said word for word. Not a word. Not a word. She just took action. She moved. Why waste your breath on someone who probably wouldn't have listened in the first place? She took action, takes me away from the kitchen, unhooks the brakes on my wheelchair. We could spend an hour on that one. Rolls me away from that pity party. I'd been there for a while, 9 months. Takes me down a hallway. I look up halfway and I say, Mama, where are you really taking me? And she doesn't respond. She just moves. Just keeps stepping. Left foot, right foot, left foot. All the way back into our living room. My great-grandmother's upright piano's there. My mother locks the brakes in front of it, walks out. In steps Mrs. Bartello. She puts her right arm around me like this, and she says to me, John, this is beautiful language, by the way, John, this is going to be really, really, really hard. It just is. And then she added, welcome to life. And then she added, and we can do it together. And with that, she grabs a Margaritaville pen out of her purse, sets it on top of my right broken, fingerless, useless right hand. It's never going to amount to anything, nor will my life. My left arm is up in an airplane splint. I'm in a wheelchair on a morphine drip. The pen is about to fall, so she grabs 3 rubber bands, and now I'm playing the piano. The entire time thinking, I hate my mom. I just really do not like my mom. And the only time I did not like my mom more than Tuesday was on Wednesday when the doorbell rang and the leader came back in and they marched me away from the table, away from who I thought I wasn't, unpacking and opening up for me a new story, putting her arm around me and speaking these words. Please hear them today because I needed them in 1987. I think we need them in 2022. Hey, this is going to be really, really, really hard. Welcome to life. And we can do it together. Margaritaville pen. This goes on day after day, not just for 5 days or 1 week or 5 weeks or 5 months, but ultimately for 5 years. This teacher kept coming back into my life. So today, as we think about great leaders, I'm like setting stuff down at these random places. Sorry for the guys who sat in the front. I'd like you to ask the question, who cares? But not from a place of indifference. Who cared for you? Who was there for you when you had a struggle, an addiction, a dream? Maybe it's a coach, a rabbi, a pastor, a great GM. Maybe a spouse, a parent, a grandparent, a guardian, a child. Maybe someone in this room. That's cool. But I want you to think about one person for you who inspires you to become the best version of yourself. Everybody needs a name because in 31 seconds you'll be texting that person. Just identify one person. I'm going to text my mom today. She's it for me. Who's yours? One person who inspires you to become the best version of yourself. They believed maybe before you did. You got one? Awesome. Grab your phone. I'll do it with you. (10:34) Monday, August 29th. Let's go to work. Grab your phone. One message of love goes up on right now. And while you're pecking away on your computers, I'm going to be pecking away up here on this little keyboard. Beth is awesome. She has somehow lumbered in here a keyboard. Before I play, I'm going to let you all vote. Would you rather hear my wife's favorite song, which is a little bit more recent, or my mother's favorite song, which is a little bit more of an oldie? So I'm going to let you all vote with your voice right now. Who wants to hear my wife's favorite song? Make some noise. All right. Who wants to hear my mother's favorite song? Make some noise. I heard Mom a little bit clear. If we have time at the end, we'll play my wife's as well. This is the first song she made me learn when I came home. And it sounded as bad then as it's about to now. But I could not have done what I'm doing today without the help of a person believing in me. So I'm going to ask you all now to turn your attention away from me playing the piano and turn toward your phone and send out a sincere message of appreciation to someone who certainly has earned it. They did a surgery that allowed me to push one key at a time. then they did another surgery that allowed the left to play with the right. Text away, please. Right now, you're probably getting a text back that says, "What's wrong? What did you do last night?" Let it never come as a surprise when we tell people we love them that we do. It's a hallmark characteristic of great leadership. Share appreciation. Don't just think it, but continually share it. I was speaking to Michael before he went live a moment ago, and his wife is also a presenter, and I said, man, if she needs anything, have her text me. So I told him, later on, I'm going to put my number on the screen, have her text me. But that same offer goes out to each of you. I like to stay in touch with folks. I'm in Florida all the time, and if ever I can be of service to you, to a member, to a member's child, to someone going through trauma on your team, we're here to serve. So I'm going to give you my number. The ask is this: text me your email address. This is how we stay in touch. I'll drop you on Mondays what we call Monday morning motivation. Cool to share individually, but even better maybe to share with your teams as they step into the day. So the number is 314-202-5373. It's on the screen. Text me your email and hit send. So the number, for those of you just staring down, it's okay, 314-202-5373. Then type in your email, or the email of someone you don't care for. Right. If one of you just gets bombarded by O'Leary's emails next Monday, you will know that that person is you. So here's the deal. Monday morning next week, I get to send you a message now, and then the following week, and then the following week. But the ask is this: if ever I can serve you, hit reply. That's really what we're in the business of. So 314-202-5373. Our answer is yes. So that's one way to stay in touch. There are two ways. Alternatively, you heard Ken a moment ago talk about John's podcast. We have a cool podcast. How many of you listen to podcasts? Cool, man, about half. What I love about podcasts is tune into who you want, whenever you want, with no commercials. It's like on demand, whoever you want. So if you're like, man, the media is always negative, and who made you listen? So if you're looking for a different version of the story, check out ours. It's called Live Inspired with John O'Leary. So anywhere you download or subscribe or pull down podcast, consider subscribing to Live Inspired. What I do is weekly bring on a guest that I look up to, like Gary Sinise, who is far more than just Lieutenant Dan these days. Brene Brown, who talks honestly and boldly about vulnerability. She's awesome. Steve Pemberton, who grew up in the foster care system with nothing except he had one person, essentially one GM who believed in him. And it changed his life, one person. A guy named Mark Randolph, who runs a little business called Netflix. There's a woman who lives 18 minutes from my house named Jackie Joyner Kersey. But I'll be honest with you, I live in a nice part of St. Louis, Missouri. She lives 18 minutes away in a town called East St. Louis. This woman has won gold in 4 different Olympics. She could live anywhere in the world, even Florida. She chooses East St. Louis because that's the community that gave her a chance when she had people who believed in her when others did not. And she wants to be like that kind of voice and light for others. She's awesome, amazing human being. And then finally, a fellow named Jonathan Kane who works for a little band that tragically broke up called Journey. Did you know Journey broke up? You're like, damn, could 2020 get any worse, man? It didn't happen in 2020. It happened in 1976. Before the thing started, it fell apart. Jonathan rode home to Chicago, Illinois from California and said, Dad, it's not working. Send money. I'm coming home. And his father sent him a check for $2,000. And then he added with that the words, and son, with this money, you may not come home. You got a gift. I demand that you use it well. On the bottom left of the memo were 3 words that the father wrote to the son. Anybody want to guess what the memo was? Just guess. I mean, if you want to just kind of put the dart out there in the field and see what happens, just take a random stab at it. Don't stop believing, son. In a marketplace that does. Don't stop believing. Do not stop believing. Jonathan Kane cashed a check for $2,000 and wrote in his journal that night 3 words. 6 months later in studio, recorded this song. It took him all the way to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Leaders, that is you. We need people who believe. We need that model in our lives. How cool to be that model for others. So the final question is going to take us to, okay, so how do we model this every day when it's hard? How do we, Rob called this out. He said, John, my favorite question you brought up is what more can I do? It's what I want to do with my team, what I want to do with my folks, what I want to do with my kids, my family, my community, myself. So here's the final question, final story. And if we have time, we'll play one more song on the piano. We'll see. Here we go. A little boy named John O'Leary got burned on a January 17th morning. On January 18th, I find myself tied down in darkness. That's why the screen is blank right now. So I can't move my arms or my legs. My lungs are burned. So I can't breathe. They cut a hole right here. Now I can breathe, but I can't eat or drink or talk. And my eyes are swollen shut, so I can't see. But I could dream. I could pray. I could meditate. I could set goals. And I could listen. Have you ever noticed how much more you hear when your eyes are shut? I mean, some of you have been listening beautifully all morning long. When our eyes are shut, we hear. And candidly, hear this, people. Busy people seldom have an opportunity to listen. It's moving too quick. How could we? I implore you, make time throughout your day just to sit back in silence, reflect, watch your breath, meditate, pray, journal. Make that space for you. You will be far more effective in racing forward in life. I had 5 months to listen. And growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, there's basically one thing we like to do in the summertime. Baseball. And the way we used to watch baseball wasn't at that stadium. The way we used to watch baseball was with our ears. There was a guy in St. Louis, some of you may know his name. His name was Jack Buck. Jack Buck was the broadcaster for the St. Louis Cardinals. He raised a son named Joe, that I'm sure many of you know as well. Joe Buck is the boy, but I loved his dad. Loved his dad. I never met him. He's a celebrity. I'm not. But I loved his voice. Then I got burned on a Saturday morning. Sunday afternoon, I find myself tied down in darkness by myself. And the door opens up. One person, leaders, all it takes is one. That's why I'm such an optimist. One person walks into the room. I hear the footsteps, pulls up a chair. They cough. And then I hear this voice. And the voice, loud and clear, bringing light into my darkness, says, "Kid, wake up. Wake up. You are going to live. You are going to survive. Keep fighting. John O'Leary Day at the ballpark will make it all worthwhile." And then he says, "Kid, are you listening?" So I respond. He responds, "Good. Keep fighting." He leaves me tied down in darkness by myself, 9-year-old kid in a hospital bed, on fire with life. I wrote a book 4 years ago called On Fire. It's not titled that because I got burned. It's what happens the moment after the explosion. It is unbelievable. It's shocking. It's on fire, man. It's just unbelievable. Jack is part of that story. He comes into that room one time, walks out, leans his head against a glass door 3 doors down, and just starts weeping, which, of course, we all know in leadership is the sign of great weakness. Yes? I mean, if you're crying every day at work, yeah, come see me, okay? There's going to be like a little book signing afterwards. We'll talk about that. Every time a member walks in, you start weeping. That is too much emotion. But on occasion, people, humans, doing life through the peaks and the valleys, it's not weak, it's strength. It's compassion embodied. Jack weeps not because he's weak. He's a war hero. He's a Purple Heart recipient from the Battle of the Bulge, man's man, who cried all the time. One of the nurses walks over to him, kneels down, looks up and says, "Mr. Buck, are you all right? We can't lose you. You're the only celebrity in St. Louis. This ain't Florida, baby." And he looks back and says, "I'm not sure if I'm okay. That little boy, he's not going to make it, is he?" And the expert on her knees looks up and says, "Mr. Buck, there is absolutely not a chance. It is his time. Let him go. Let it go." When this news comes into our life, how we respond will influence what happens next. What Jack does, it's going to go back to a question Rob loves. He takes it home, he cries, he prays, he reflects, and he journals on one question. Sometimes it's about him becoming better, a better announcer, a better spouse, recovering from an addiction, making it through a divorce, all the things that we go through in life. He went through all that as well. Sometimes it was uniquely about him. What more can I do? Oftentimes, though, for Jack, it was about others. What more can I do for them? His team, young announcers, kids in hospital beds. The following day, there's a little boy named John O'Leary hanging out in darkness, dying on a Monday morning. And then one person walks in. I hear footsteps, a chair, a cough, and then one voice. "Kid, wake up. Wake up. I'm back. You are going to live. You are going to survive. Keep fighting. John O'Leary Day at the ballpark will make it all worthwhile. See you soon." And then he leaves. And then the following day, he comes back for 5 months. On August 26, 1987, he picks me up in a Lincoln Town Car. I'd never been in a Lincoln in my entire life. But August 26, I got into the back of one. Rode downtown with Mr. Buck driving. What I remember most about that drive downtown, that Lincoln, I don't know if you remember the Lincolns in the 80s, there were ashtrays everywhere, man. Like 2 in the door, 3 in the armrest, 2 by my knee, like ashtrays everywhere, man. Gets me out of the car, gets me into my wheelchair. We meet the Cardinal players. I don't know what your dream was growing up, but I'm living it right now. I'm a 10-year-old boy meeting famous players and managers. Then he puts me back into my wheelchair, and we broadcast the ball game together. He puts a microphone in front of me, and on live national radio says, by the way, this is like my coming out party. He says, "It's John O'Leary Day at the ballpark. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in town. Kid, Are you having fun? And he's like, whew, here we go. So I look up and I respond on live national radio. Well, I'm 10, dude. I'm an introvert. I don't like my wheelchair. I don't like when I get a little hot, I start sweating. Can't control it. I don't like that people stare at my hands when my mother rolls me into a room. I hate that. But tonight, one night, I'm having a blast. I just don't have words yet. I don't have the courage yet. I don't know my story, Armand. I don't know my story yet. But I'm having a blast. Jack sees a little boy that has so much wrong with him, but rather than getting focused on the broken, he sees the other side of the reflection, takes it home, cries, prays, reflects on one question. What's the question, class? What more can I do? The following day, a little boy named John O'Leary gets a baseball from Jack Buck. It's signed by a Cardinal shortstop named Ozzie Smith. Below that ball was a note that read, "Kid, if you want a second baseball, write a thank you letter to the man who signed the first." How? But when you know your why, you can endure anyhow. That's a quote from Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust. When you know your why, you can endure anyhow. For the first time since being burned, with the help of a therapist and a parent, they pushed my hands together. You got to break through the scar tissue sometimes. Write a note to Ozzie, mailed it off, and 2 days later, he lived into his part of the promise. I got a second baseball. With a second note from Jack that read, "Kid, if you want a third baseball." So I wrote it, mailed it off, and a couple days later, I got a fourth baseball. And then a couple days later, I got a fifth baseball. And a couple days later, I got a sixth, and then a seventh, and then I got an 11th, and then I got a 19th, then I got a 33rd, 47th, 60 baseballs came in the mail that summer, teaching a little nobody that there's no such thing, that you're far more than just a busboy. Your life matters. Act like it. Act like it. It teaches a little boy to pick up a pen and act like his life has value, because it does, and so does yours. It just does. Jack believed in me long before I believed in myself, taught a little boy how to write, which brought me back to grade school. Grade school was followed by 4 years of high school. That was followed by 9 years at university. Okay. Shockingly, you graduate, man. In graduation night, we're almost at the end of the story, so hang on for just a moment with me. Love shows up. Like, I never dated in grade school, middle school, high school, or college. That is a pretty long drought. But graduation night, right on time, love appears. Can I show you her picture? Yes or no? Yes. Here she comes. Is she beautiful? Jack Buck. Who'd you expect? Love. Love, people. Not lust. Not lust. There's a difference. We forget it sometimes. There's a profound difference. Love shows up in the form of a 77-year-old man with Parkinson's disease, like my dad has, and stage 4 lung cancer. When you see the picture of Jack Buck on the screen, do you see a picture of a guy dying? Yes or no? Please. Finish strong, boys. Finish strong. Finish strong. Shoulders back. Jack finished strong. Showed up the final time that I saw him this side of eternity with a package and a note. Before I open up the gift or read you the package that he wrote, first the question, which was, anybody want to take a guess at it? One more time, like it matters? Because it does. What more can I do to make tomorrow better than today? For me, for one of my members, for one of my team members, for a spouse, for a child, for a parent, for a stranger. What more can I do? Okay. Kid, this means a lot to me. I hope it means a lot to you. This is the baseball that I received when I went into the Hall of Fame. It's made of crystal. It is priceless. There's only one like it in the entire world. And then he wrote, "Don't drop it." Right. He gave a priceless heirloom to an introverted nervous nobody. Reminding them that there's no such thing. Like, be somebody. Your life matters. Taught me to believe long before I believed, which I think led to this picture, known as the greatest sales job of my entire life. Okay. Her name is Elizabeth Grace. She gave me not only the answer to a question, I do, but ultimately she gave me these 4 little babies and a puppy dog in the middle. Jack, Patrick, Henry, and Grace. But today it's not about my story. It's about looking in the mirror, looking down at a piece of paper, hanging out in Margaritaville, and embracing the gift of our stories. So as we get ready to kick O'Leary out of the house, get out of here, man. I'd like you to look in the mirror one final time, ask the question, what more can I do? And answer it. Because of today's message, I commit to just one thing. If you can leave every session with one takeaway for you as an individual, for you as a leader, you win. And so do we. What's one thing you heard during this program? Because of today's message, I commit to. I just found this hat. I'm going to wear it for the rest of the day. Get one at the Peacock and Lewis table. I'll be wearing mine on a flight later on this afternoon. If you haven't yet jotted down your commitment, please do so now. And if you're asking yourself, well, how do we live into it? I think it is as easy and as difficult as 3 questions. In the morning, as the sun kisses through the clouds in Florida, ask this question. Whoa, why me? Why me? As you step into the day on point with mission, clarity, focus, values, who cares? Let's do good work today. Let's live good lives today. Let's make a difference today. And as you stumble home at the end of a long day, sometimes very difficult from what I understand, ask the third and the final question, which is, class, what more can I do to make tomorrow even better than today? I want to thank you for inviting me into the family. I want to remind you, y'all have my number. Use it. If I can ever serve you, please ask. I'll be hanging out for a while during break. I believe we have some books. They're called On Fire. The other one's called In Awe. They're $20, but if you don't have money, I'll buy it for you. This is not a cash grab. It's a way to share a message and then hopefully multiply it going forward. So there it is. I look forward to meeting y'all afterwards. Fist bump, hug. And I'm the boy who got burned as a little guy, okay? In case you're curious, like, what happened to your hands, man? That's what happened. I thank y'all for being here. God bless you. Have an awesome afternoon.